And that being, we remove the crust, and the end product of the bread pudding is going to be a real smooth, consistent pudding. So, remove the crust, 4 cups of bread, stale as could be, not quite croutons, but pretty close. Then we scald milk. For scalding milk, you have to be real careful. Milk has a tendency to boil real quickly. Once it starts boiling, then you're in trouble. So you got to keep a close eye on it, as I'm trying to do now. And as soon as it starts to come up, you know that you've reached the scald. I have 1.5 cups of milk, 1.5 cups of whole cream. Again, traditionally, all milk, but we like to add a little bit more richness to this. So if you prefer to have it maybe on a diet, stay away from the whole cream. Okay, now it's almost there. It's going to start rising out of the pan. As soon as it gets to that point, we're at our scald. And there it is. As I said, be real careful with the scald, because if it does get too hot, you'll have a mess everywhere. So simply, scalded milk goes in with the bread. Smells incredible because whole cream always smells incredible. Mix those together. And let it cool. So we got the pudding put together with the cream, milk, and breadcrumbs simply. Now you add all the good stuff. This is a tablespoon of vanilla. Spices are something that you tailor to yourself. If you like vanilla, add more vanilla. If you like more cinnamon, add cinnamon. I like cinnamon. So 1.5 tablespoons of cinnamon. Then add 3/4 cup of sugar. If you like it more sweet, you could add more sugar. If you also like, brown sugar works great in this recipe. So add the brown sugar or white sugar. Add the dry ingredients. Give it a little stir. Make sure everything's getting mixed together. And as I said, it's going to turn out like a pudding because the bread will be almost non-recognizable. Now, 2 eggs. And you make sure that they're a little beaten before, because there's nothing worse than getting a big egg yolk in your pudding. It's kind of disgusting. So slightly beat them first, then whip them in. And again, incorporate the egg. The key is the huckleberries will be in their whole form, and you really don't want to lose that. So you try to incorporate all the ingredients first and add the huckleberries last, being extremely gentle, so you keep them in that round form, because that's what you hunted for all summer long. You might as well have it look nice. Now 1/4 cup of butter, melted. Work that into the batter. Last but not least, the huckleberries, and as I said, be extremely gentle. What these are going to do is they're going to give them kind of a purple look to the pudding, which is really a good thing, because it changes it from a typical bread pudding, to which you would generally use raisins in, to a typical Northwest pudding. We have not broken too many of the huckleberries. Now it's time to put them into a pan. Any kind of pan would do, hopefully a bread pan. These are mini bread pans. I know at home you probably have a regular sized bread pan. Works perfect. The key is to keep the pudding moist. So we want to spray each pan with some release agent, and then spoon the batter into the bread pans. The key is not to get them too full, because we want these to be soft on top. So we're going to take special care in making sure that they are. So set the bread to get all the voids out of the pan, and then into any kind of a water bath. The water bath is going to keep the moisture in the bread to ensure that the bread doesn't get hard or crusty on the outside. Also, when you bake bread in the oven, it kind of releases. When it's done, it releases from the side of the pan. We don't want that to happen here. We want it to stay on the pan, so we're going to try to ensure there's plenty of moisture to keep that pudding moist. Now this pan will be filled with 1 inch of water, a tenth of aluminum foil over the top, and then into the oven for 1 hour. I'd like to introduce a distinguished guest, Rick Schultz. Rick Schultz is a culinary arts instructor at North Idaho College. He agreed to come over and help me out with this Sauvignon sauce for the huckleberry bread pudding. It's kind of a struggle, a little tougher than some of the other things we do, but I'm sure Rick, since he teaches students every day, will make this extremely easy to understand. So Rick?
Sauvignon sauce is just a sauce that is basically an egg yolk and sugar sauce. And of course, we're going to add the wild turkey liqueur. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to separate the eggs. Then we're going to put these on a hot water bath. Some people refer to it as a double boiler. What do you refer to it as, Bill?
I think it's a double boiler.
Double boiler?
That's what I'm going to call it.
Well, the hot water bath, double boiler. I guess the baking the pudding is more in a bath since it's submerged in the water. Double boiler would be where we keep the pan over the top of the hot water.
What's the reason not to have the water touch the pan?
Number one, we want to thicken the egg yolks, but egg yolks coagulate at 140 degrees. So we want to keep the hot and boiling water off of the pan, so we want to have a little bit of airspace there so that it's just hot air or steam that's touching the bottom of the pan. Air is more forgiving than the direct contact of pan on the hot water. So that's why we have the hot water or the double boiler and have a little airspace in there. But the most important thing, as you well know, is not coagulating your eggs.
Okay.
So we're going to just add to our 6 eggs, 3/4 of a cup of sugar. And we're just going to get a nice incorporation there. And at this point, you will notice the color that the egg yolks and sugar is really yellow. It's really a bright, almost a fluorescent yellow. That all is going to change, and that is what's going to show the success of our sauce, is the changing of the color. So here we have just a gentle simmering of water. We put our pan there, making sure that the pan doesn't get wet with the actual water. And at this point, it's just a long, patient process of stirring your sugar and your egg yolks, slightly heating the whole time that we're doing that. Again, you want to keep it stirring so that no one part of the egg yolk sugar mixture gets too hot. Again, curdled egg yolks. As the sugar gets hot and the egg yolks, which is a high concentration of fat, gets warmer and warmer, it begins to thin out. Then as we continue to cook it over the hot water bath, it will then start the coagulation process. We don't, of course, want it to go all the way, but we want it to go enough to thicken our sauce here. Try to keep your product from going clear up the sides there. Basically what you're looking for now, as your whip goes through, that the sauce pulls away from the pan, and you have a couple of seconds where you can actually see the pan underneath the sauce before the sauce cascades back down onto the pan again. So that's, now you can start to see where it's starting to thicken up a little bit. It went from being real liquidy to a little bit thicker now. Just keep after it. Don't let it curdle on you.
And the color's starting to change.
Right, there's that color change that we were talking about. As you look at this now, you can clearly see that you pull your whip through and you can still see your pan underneath it for a good couple of seconds there. So we are just right, almost right on it. You're better off at this point, I always think, to be a little on the underside of done than the overside of done.
You can never make it more
because
done.
You can never take away curdled egg yolks.
Good point.
You can't ever do that. So now we've got a really nice, nice thickness. You can see that it's not watery. We've got a nice thickness to it. So now we've got our whiskey incorporated. It just takes 1 second. It thins out our sauce a little. My God, this must be your recipe, because this is way more whiskey than I would ever put in a product.
This tastes phenomenal. The whiskey, once it sits in the eggs for a little while, it really changes the flavor. It's not this strong.
It changes a lot
when you serve it. But when we serve it with the bread pudding, it's only going to have a tablespoon or 2 of this product on it.
So we're serving bread pudding with the whiskey sauce, or whiskey sauce with some bread pudding.
Minuscule amounts of bread pudding, large amounts of whiskey
sauce. What do you
think
about sticking your finger in sauces and tasting them? I see that a lot of times. What's up with that?
We don't allow that to happen in our kitchens, but
at home,
we're here.
Who cares?
This is home.
And it's our kitchen.
That's perfect. The key is, that's perfect.
Wow.
The key is to ensure that all the sugar is gone. If the sugar is still granular, you'll know right away.
You talk, I'm gonna go get the whipping cream.
Perfect.
Important fact, always make sure your whipped cream is ice cold, very, very cold. Going to start our whipped cream. The turning on the motor, I'm not sure what the sound's going to be like, but it's the one that drives me always the most crazy when I'm listening to cooking shows. So
that's the right sound right there. Yeah.
Is that the one that drives you crazy too?
Yeah.
In the meantime, we're going to be stirring the sauce, and we want this sauce to cool down to about room temperature. The metal bowl is nice because that will transfer the heat from the sauce out to the edges and cool it off a little bit more quickly. If we were going to sweeten this, we would wait until it's about 3/4 of the way whipped. Then you could add your sweetener. The one thing you do want to remember is that you want to be sure to get your whipping cream finished and out of the bowl before it turns into butter. We're going to just put the whipped cream right into this sauce. Okay. So then at this point we're just going to fold in. By folding, what you're talking about there is you're going to bring some of the sauce in from the bottom and put it over the top. You're going to turn your bowl, bring some of your sauce up from the bottom, turn it over the top, and you're just going to keep doing that. And of course the reason is you want to keep as much air, which is what's giving your whipping cream the volume. Right. You want to keep as much as of that in the sauce as possible. You don't want to beat that out. And again, you'll notice your color change will start to lighten up because of the white whipping cream. So it's just gentle process of just stirring and folding it in. Mousses are done similar, the same way. Soufflés, you fold in your egg whites. Again, you're just trying to be respectful of the air that you've incorporated in either your whipping cream or egg whites.
Chocolate decadence.
Chocolate decadence, same thing.
Adding a light thing to a heavy thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Sometimes you'll see where they'll take a whipping cream and they'll just put about a quarter of it in the sauce and really just stir it in, and that's basically just to lighten up the sauce enough so that you can fold it in. You have yourself a nice wild turkey sabayon sauce to go with your fabulous
bread pudding. Huckleberry bread pudding.
Huckleberry bread pudding. You want to taste it now?
And we could do this, we're at home, right?
We're at home now. Oh, you spilled.
That is incredible.
So, there you have a sabayon sauce. It only took us a couple of minutes.
Yep.
So it's not a big whoop to put it together.
It's pretty simple.
Mostly,
impress your friends?
Oh, it's all about impressing your friends.
Absolutely.
Good food, impressing your friends. Good food first, though. So, enjoy.
Okay, now we're going to test the brisket. Looks like it's done. Medium rare on this side, more rare towards the middle. I like to give the guests lots of options. So we have medium to about medium rare, and you can see how far it indents here, probably rare. So we'll remove it. The brisket needs to rest for 10 to 15 minutes to let the blood go back to the center of the meat. And while we're letting it rest, we will prepare the bread pudding. Richard, bread pudding. All right. Just as in the game feast, we started with sauce first. You can take this out of the bread pan any way you like. Big spoons. You don't have to be as neat as we're being right now. It's a family dish. It's a down-home comfort food.
Yeah.
So take your time. Do it any way you'd like. We also finish it off with caramel sauce. Caramel adds a great end texture to it. A little bit of sweetness to kind of balance the tartness of the berries, but all the sugar that we put into the other things. So just a little over top. And back and forth like that. So you have plenty of caramel sauce. This is really a dessert that should be shared by 2 people. There's plenty of food here. It's incredible. It's delicious. Good job, Rick.
And the important thing, I think, is that little bit of caramel at the end. That presentation is second only to preparation. The garnish is what makes it all come together and look fabulous. Beautiful.
Perfect.
Thank you for inviting me over to cook with you today, Bill.
Thank you, Richard. Now we'll finish up with the brisket. Okay, the brisket is done. Here comes the testimonial. If I was right, it's going to be medium on the end, medium rare about right here, and then more rare as we go up. It's essential to cut a brisket against the grain. You can catch the grains coming through the brisket by the way the meat is laid. You can see lines this way, so our whole intent is to cut away from those lines. That's what makes a brisket tender. So we will do that. Again, cutting at a 45-degree angle is essential. The angle also helps keep the meat tender. If you don't like the gaminess of game, there's a trick to take care of the gaminess. Just soak it in milk, maybe a little bit of lemon juice overnight.